Hi, my name is Ben. I'd like to welcome you all to the Off the Bar podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Manchester United's 2-2 draw against Southampton. We're going to be going over the talking points of the game, the main kind of issues that United had, and we're going to be looking forward to the next game against Crystal Palace. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about today is the Romero foul and the just horrible use of VAR. We can't boast as fans of the Premier League that we are the best league if all of these mistakes keep happening. I mean, it's literally for second opinion. And the fact is, that doesn't even get a look over. It's not like Greenwood got side down, like he got tackled and he just popped right back up. He was down for a long time. And, I mean, that would be a very, very lenient yellow card, is what I'm going to say. Like, he would have been lucky to get a yellow card during that challenge. It was egregious. It was terrible. And I would have totally shifted the game because Romero's a part of that midfield. He's a big part of that midfield. Sure, he was a casualty when they lost 9-0 to Leicester, but even then, he's been a big part of that midfield. And personally, I just don't understand it. I genuinely just don't understand it. You can't make that mistake. And I know what you might be saying, Ben, you're being incredibly stupid because Manchester United have benefited from VAR before. Yeah, sure, fine, and I'll give it to you. The Bruno penalty in the Aston Villa game was not a penalty. It wasn't. I'll give it to you, fine. But I mean, that was a terrible missed call. It could have really shifted the game because now you have Southampton playing with 10 men for probably a whole half. And yeah, United didn't play well in the second half. But even then, they would have pushed on and probably had one chance or a couple chances that could have turned into goals. So now you say 3-2 is the final score. United would go into third. So generally, that mistake but could have costed United the game. So it's egregious. It's terrible, VAR. It really, just really, truly is. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was a terrible challenge, and it should have been red carded, and it wasn't red carded. So now we have to go into the fact that, is VAR really benefiting the Premier League? Can we not have VAR and be okay? Because I think personally, until they can, fix their act, VAR is not benefiting the Premier League at all. So I don't know where you can go from there. Really, I just really truly don't know where you can go from here. It could have really hindered Mason Greenwood. It could have injured Mason Greenwood. It could have broken his ankle. It could have broken his leg. It was a terrible challenge, and it should have been carded for it. At least yellow carded, and that's a very lenient yellow. I mean, he should have been red carded. But I mean, you have to take kind of the good with the bad, or the bad with the good, and in that first half, there was a lot of good besides the bad, which was the conceded goal. But I just personally think it would have totally shifted the momentum because United already had momentum. Now think, okay, they're already down a man, they're down a goal, they're totally going to probably concede another time. And I mean, it's just a missed call that should have been called, and that's all I really have to say about it. Number two, and this is something that has plagued us even before the restart, it's individual errors. Individual errors have led to us getting scored on, twice in Bournemouth, and now I would even say twice here, because you look at the corner, Maguire's marking his own man, Lindelof's not getting in front of Obafemi, De Gea doesn't come to punch out, and now you're looking at, oh no, we've conceded a goal in the 96th minute. And I think this is, and you also have to look at the first goal where Pogba tries to play it out of his own half and gets caught out, and we concede. It's individual errors that lead to these goals. It really, truly is. I think they don't come often, and that's good, because defensively we're pretty good. And they don't come often, but when they do, it's just terrible. It's at a terrible time. And personally, I don't know how you could fix it. Is it match sharpness? Well, I don't know, because you've been playing the same team for 5-6 games. Is it meshing together after the break? Maybe not. We don't know what this is. It could just be that they were off for 4 months, and they're just trying to get their heads back in. Yeah, but after 5 or 6 games, you start to think, hey, maybe they shouldn't be that bad at just making these mistakes, because these are mistakes that regular players make. When you have a guy like Paul Pogba losing possession in his own half in a dangerous area, that doesn't happen. That happened again, like a couple minutes later in the game, and I was sitting there like, what the hell, you know? Paul Pogba. I'm not blaming him because he's been incredible since the restart, but he this is his worst game, and he almost had 2 errors leading into goals. He had 1 error, and he almost had another one a couple minutes later. And I mean, it was generally, it's just these individual errors that are leading to goals. This needs to be cleaned up. This needs to be cleaned up, and I don't know how it will be cleaned up. Maybe it is just match sharpness. Maybe it is after playing 20 or 30 odd games. Taking a 4-month break and trying to come back is extremely difficult. But you'd expect, after playing with the same team for 4 straight games, playing with basically the same centre-back partner, and being a veteran, I'm talking about Harry Maguire, who's marking his own man and not trying to actually head the ball away. Because, again, if he comes off and he defends Obafemi, there's no goal. So there is a certain level of, we kind of expect you to not mess up as bad as they did, and they messed up, and there's nothing really else to say about it, because they, individual errors kind of led to, I think, the past 4 goals we've conceded. The third thing I want to talk about is the lineup. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been riding high on this one lineup for the past 5 games. Basically, for the past 6 games, if you substitute, I believe, McTominay for Pogba, it's been the same lineup. You know what that means? They're just tired. Manchester United aren't, this team isn't built to play 6 games on the 5 or 6 games on the bounce with the same team. And now, especially since we didn't pick up 3 points today, we now have to look at, okay, we have 2 more games this week. We're not playing everyone against Crystal Palace, so who are we playing to maximize our points? And then we have FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea. So we're probably going to have to put our whole team in there, and then you have, the next 2 Premier League games, which we need to put our whole team in. So you've kind of messed yourself up here, if you're Solskjaer, because you have a team full of tired players who they look tired after 67 minutes. 60, 65, 70 minutes. They stopped pressing. They came back and started to defend it instead of trying to press on and score another one, which we've seen in the Bournemouth game when we scored 5, and the Aston Villa game when we scored 3, and we've seen before with the Solskjaer team that you've come on and it's not a hold on to the win type of situation. It is, let's stomp on their necks situation, and I think they were just tired. They couldn't push anymore. They really, really just couldn't push anymore, and there's no, and that's also talking about the depth as well. There's little depth on that team besides defensive wise. There's little depth there's depth on the team. You have Brandon Williams, you have Eric Bailly, Scott McTominay, you have these players, but in the midfield and the offense, you don't have any creators. Odion Igalo, as much as I love him, is not a creator. Daniel James is great when the other team is tired and you want to push on for another goal, but he's not a creator. He's not. He needs someone in that. Which leads to my next point, which is Pogba and Bruno coming off at the same time was the worst mistake of this game. I understand it. They were probably exhausted for carrying the midfield. They were probably exhausted for carrying the load of having to create for this team. But they came off at almost the exact same time. And the possession dropped. I think it was after Pogba came off, we had 23.6% possession. And after Bruno came off, we had 16 or 13% possession. I mean, that's insane to think that we're home. I don't care without fans. We're still home, and we've lost that much possession. I mean, there's no excuse for it other than we need either Pogba or Bruno on the field until we get some reinforcement, such as Jack Grealish or Donny van de Beek. We need someone like that, and we need someone like that to come off the bench, and I just don't see anyone that can be that way. I just don't, and it's almost disheartening because you look at this team and you think this is the best starting 11 we've had since Fergie. And then you look at the bench, you go, this bench is not going to help us if we need to score another goal, you know. And that's definitely an extreme problem that we have. It really, truly is. The next thing I want to talk about is Greenwood's kind of absence. And look, Southampton played, I think, tactically, I wouldn't say outclassed us because I think we played pretty well. But they turned it up a notch. I mean, the high press was able to really compact our lines, and it wasn't really helping that we couldn't get Bruno and Pogba on the ball as much as we should have, and because they only had 28 passes, and we weren't really able to really kind of show our creativity in this game. The high press really killed us. So when you have two players on Mason Greenwood who could, if there's one person on him, could, if he gets forced left, he can shoot. If he gets forced right, he can shoot. You know, he doesn't have the whereabouts to really, or he doesn't have just the knowledge of playing year after year after year to know what to do from that situation when he's being double teamed. I mean, there were so many players running at Greenwood when he got the ball, and it just, you know, he just seemed to kind of disappear, and it's not his fault. He's 18 years old. He can still play in the Youth FA Cup, but I find that kind of funny. But you know, I think personally, it's almost degrading to see someone who was banging in goals, who was being a creative outlet. He just seemed kind of gone from the game, and he seemed kind of removed. And you know, at the end of the day, that's what loses games. You know, not being able to get players on the ball like Bruno and Pogba, not being able to show how good Mason Greenwood could be, and not being able to really push Mason Greenwood past the defense. That's what really killed it. I mean, we weren't really able to get anything creative after those two goals. Besides the Martial-Rashford link-up that almost would have been probably the goal of the season. I mean, it was an incredible move. It was an incredible sequence of events that almost led to Rashford scoring, and he kicked it right at the leg of the goalkeeper. And it's kind of degrading, but you know, it's kind of, you want to go on from this, and you want to look at it as, well, we didn't lose, but what can we take away from this game that's going to help us in the future? Like, what did we do wrong in this game? And I think not getting Greenwood involved and not being able to use him as a decoy or use him as something really kind of killed us. And I think the not being able to use Greenwood and Pogba and Bruno as best as we could really killed us. Something that was very apparent in this game was Martial. I mean, you can see he's starting to become a more complete number 9, and really, you know, in my notes here I said Martial's masterclass almost, because you know, if he chips the keeper that first time, he has 2 goals and assist. He's leading us in goals in the goal tally for the season, and we win the game. And again, I'm not trying to put the onus of the loss on anyone, but you know, there are moments that we've just missed. But Martial had an incredible game. The hold-up play that he had right before getting the assist for Marcus Rashford was incredible. I thought that was like Odion and Gallo Manchester City game like. I mean, it was genuinely probably like the best thing I think I've seen, like the best hold-up play I've seen in a while. And personally, I think that was really good. So I'm not too bummed about the entire, like, his performance is incredible, out of this world. Definitely man of the match for me, man of the match for probably everyone who watched it. So I thought he was a gleaming light in that game. Moving on next, I want to say we defended extremely well. I think, you know, there's this idea that we didn't play extremely well in the second half. When we didn't, we should have pressed, and we should have tried to get more than that extremely good chance where Rashford shot it at the keeper's leg. But you know, we should have pushed on to get another goal, but we defended extremely well up until the corner. And I think the corner, for some reason, I think we just switched off, because Maguire is one of the, like, we've seen him in corners going forward. He's incredible. And we've seen him in corners before. He's incredible defending them. So now you're looking at a situation where Maguire is marking his own man. You have De Gea, who's not coming up for a punch, and you have Lindelof, who just he just lets Obafemi get in front of him, and it's, you know, it's something that really shouldn't have happened. like that corner doesn't happen 99 out of the 100 times we try it, you know. And besides, I think we defended extremely well. Again, Lindelof had an incredible performance. I think he was standout. Shaw was standing out to me. Rashford played pretty well. Bruno with another assist. But I think defensive wise, we played extremely well up until that moment. As I said before, I think as another talking point, we just missed our chances. Martial had one or two tries. I remember he picked the ball up from midfield and just drove it down, and you know everything was there but the finish. He blew it wide, and he blew it over, I think, actually. But he was just. It seemed to be that we just couldn't finish today. Besides the two goals, we just couldn't finish. Martial, 9 of the 10 times, he tries to dink the keeper. He does not try to shoot it to the left or the right. He tries to chip the keeper there, and he doesn't. He doesn't chip the keeper, and it's just, and we lose the game. We don't lose. We don't lose the game, but we lose kind of that possession, because now I think that was before they scored. So now we're 1-0 up, and we don't have to kind of we don't have to use build-up play in our own half to try and get forward, because that second goal wasn't build-up play in our own half, from box to box. So from our penalty area to their penalty area was 12 seconds. So you look at that and you say, okay, if we take our chance in the first half, fine, we'll be 2 or 3-0, 3-1 up. We win the game, you know. And Rashford had a great chance, shot at the keeper's leg. I mean, you're looking at now 3 chances where United could have just pulled away. Really. And it's taking those chances when we get them is something that was extremely frustrating to watch. One of the biggest talking points in the game actually was the substitutions, because a lot of people thought that it killed the game. Like, it killed any of our chances of getting forward and getting another goal. It really, and I can understand where that comes from, but also it's the right substitution to make. You know, God forbid Pogba or Bruno gets injured. You know, that's something that they had to make sure didn't happen. And when you have 2-1 against a team that presses high, we should have left them on in hindsight, but they were the right substitutions to make at the time. Because remember, you also have 3 times to make substitutions, which is terrible, because we were down to 10 men and we could have subbed off Williams for another defender or something like that, which could have changed the game. So now we're looking at, you know, a flawed area of this new system that we have because of Project Restart. But even then, the substitutions that we did make kind of killed us off, besides Brandon Williams for Luke Shaw, because Brandon Williams went down with an injury a couple minutes later. Yeah, I mean, the substitutions really just killed us. And I think that was something that was detrimental to the team, but you have to also look at those are the right substitutions to make sure that we weren't going to have any new injuries. Really, we weren't going to have any new injuries if we made those substitutions, and we didn't. And we didn't have any new injuries, which is good, but this was something that definitely needed to be worked on, especially now. We need to build off of the fact that we don't have any creative midfielders coming off the bench. So we have to now sign either Jack Grealish or Donny van de Beek, or even both at this point. And we need more. It's a sign that we need a lot more depth in the creative department of the team. We need more depth. I think personally, what really kind of got me this game was the flashbacks I got from 70 minutes on, where we were just sitting in our own half. Because I just remembered Mourinho doing that. I remember Van Gaal doing that. That we were playing to conserve the lead. We weren't playing to trying to extend it. And I don't think this is something Solskjaer did. For some reason, I just don't think Solskjaer did this. Because Solskjaer, we've seen in past games where we're only up 2-1. We're only up this many goals. We crack on and try and get another goal to end the game. You know, he has that kind of gun shooter mentality that Ferguson had in his last season. That kind of one more goal wins the game. And, you know, I think they might have just relapsed because they were tired and they just realized if we just hold on here, we can win. And, you know, we didn't. And we didn't hold on. We didn't win. But I think, personally, it just seemed to relapse. It was like watching Mourinho play for the last 20 minutes. And it wasn't good. it was not good for us. I think genuinely, you know, and I think even when they got the corner, I said I didn't want a corner. I was with someone else watching, and I said I don't want the corner, and they got the corner and they scored. But I looked at other things and I was just thinking, this is this is basically how we played under Mourinho. We'd get a goal and get out, and we couldn't get out half the time. We couldn't get out of this game. We have to play this kind of pushing forward, getting one more goal. We can sit back when we're up, when we have a cushion, not when we just have one goal lead, but if we have like 2 goals or 3 goals to our lead, then we can go, okay, we don't need to play this anymore, or we don't need to play as hard as we have to. Let's sit back, let's pass it around the back, let's not try and, let's not like go all out. And again, if we take those chances, we're up 3-4-1. So it's a combination of a lot of things that kind of led to us not winning, really. It's not taking the chances, it's playing like Mourinho in the last 20 minutes, it's the substitutions, which you should make. It's this combination of a lot of things that really just killed us, this game. So the final thing I want to talk about is kind of the fact that top 3 is still a possibility, and it's a huge possibility, I think, if you look at it. Because if Chelsea drop points against Liverpool and Wolves, which those are their last 2 games, if Chelsea drops points against those 2, then United, if they win all 3 games, goes into 3rd. And I don't see them, I see them dropping points. I just don't see them not dropping points against Liverpool, who are the champions, and, they have had pretty bad form coming out of the break, but I don't see them losing Liverpool. I really truly don't. I think they were going to lose the one time, and they did. So I think that was it. And against Wolves needs to kind of gain maximum points to make sure they stay in that top 5-6 bracket, because you have, I'm not going to say Arsenal are going to be challenging, but you have Wolves, you have Sheffield, and you have some other teams that are just really going to challenge for that top 5-6 position, or the top 6 position at least. So, and I don't see, and Wolves are in the Europa League now, but I don't see them going into the final, because I see Man United winning the Europa League. But even then, they're going to want to kind of get into 6th place to be able to kind of cement their Europe status, really. And Leicester, again, if we just win out, we'll get 4th, which is fine. But Leicester have Leicester have Sheffield, Tottenham, and Man United. I don't see them winning against Sheffield. I'll be completely honest. Sheffield have pulled up incredible form since, I think, losing to us. They've pulled up incredible form. Tottenham, I could see them beating Tottenham. Tottenham have been a really, really terrible side. And then Man United, which I don't see them beating Man United. So, again, I think if we're able to capitalize, if Manchester United are able to capitalize on the next 3 games, which aren't these enormous games. I mean, they have Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Leicester. These aren't these big games. So if Leicester drop points, again, if Leicester drop points and we go forward and we win the next 2 games, we'll be in 4th and we'll only need to draw. You know what I mean? And I think if I'm Solskjaer, I'd probably look to say, okay, if we can't outwardly win in 45 minutes against Leicester, we'll try and kind of play for the draw, play for conserving leads if we're already ahead on the table. So I think personally, top 4, even top 3 is not out of the question. There's still a huge possibility. And I know this was a sucker punch, especially to lose in the fashion we did, because of we defended extremely well for 90 minutes, and then 96th minute, one corner swings in. Maguire does something. It looks like he was marking Wan-Bissaka, who's his own teammate, but he goes and I think he's trying to win the ball back as well. And De Gea doesn't come out to punch, and Lindelof gets beat by Obafemi at the far post, and it's a sucker punch. But I think especially a lot of the United fans I've seen have been very upset, because that was again another shot to kind of prove that we aren't the same team we've been for the past 7 years. But I think this whole 18-game unbeaten streak has proven that we're not the same team, and I think we're gonna go into Crystal Palace, beat them. Crystal Palace, who's lost their last 5 games, we're gonna go into Crystal Palace and beat them. We're gonna go into West Ham, and that's gonna be a tough game, but I think we're gonna beat them. And then we're gonna go into Leicester, and I think we're gonna beat them. So I think top 3 is still a possibility, really. So let's stop talking about the past and talk about the future. Manchester United have Crystal Palace on Thursday. Now, Crystal Palace have lost their last 5 games. They've been in terrible form. Of course, they should have drawn against Chelsea, but then again, we should have won against Southampton. So I'm not gonna say shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's not that big of a deal. Manchester United, they need to rotate this game, and we're going to be talking about lineups and formations just a little bit later, but right now I think we're just going to talk about the overview of the game. United need to win out. There's no dropping points in the next 3 games. This is our season. If we show that we can't win against Crystal Palace, we can't win against West Ham, we can't win against Leicester, then this team hasn't changed. This team has not changed since the beginning of the year, which is kind of a really, really weird statement to say because we have changed. It's just the team hasn't changed if we can't win these next 2 games. It's paramount. It's paramount to us to win these next 2 games because even now we have Crystal Palace on Thursday and then the FA Cup semi-final we have Chelsea, which is a huge game, and I want to win the FA Cup. I'd like to win the FA Cup, and we've beaten Chelsea 3 times? We've beaten Chelsea, we've beaten Chelsea 3 times under Solskjaer. So why not make it 4? Why not make it 4? And I think this is genuinely going to be a test of Solskjaer's, capability as a manager because you have to rotate. And again, we'll talk about, I've said this before, but again, we'll talk about formations in a little bit. But right now, I just want to say that this game is incredibly important. We messed up our opportunity last game. We should have played just a little better and we would have won the game, and I think that's really frustrating, and it is. But it's just, this is now our time. This is now our chance to go out and show how mentally strong the team is for coming back from just such a heartbreaking defeat. It wasn't a defeat, it was a draw, but it just felt like a defeat, the way we lost. So I think this is genuinely probably the biggest game in Manchester United's season so far, personally, because I think, sure, you can look at the Manchester Derby, sure, you can look at us beating Chelsea twice, sure, you can look at the draw against Liverpool, but this is going to define the season. The next 3 games are going to define the season. Throw away everything that happened before. This is what's going to define the season. And I think if Manchester United go out there and win, and then they can rally behind the team and win against West Ham, I am sure, and I've said this before, I'm sure Leicester are going to drop points. So I'm sure we're going to at least be in 4th in the final there when we have to face Leicester. So this is going to be a huge, huge game for United. These next 3 games are going to be extremely huge. And I've said before, Crystal Palace are not in the best of form. They've lost their last 5 games. We need to capitalize on that. We can't let them win. We can't let them in the game. This should be 100% just a total domination for United. We can let them score, but we have to come back like we did in the first half of Southampton, like we did against Bournemouth. We need to come back, and we have to win this game. This is a must-win game for United because I don't really see us ever getting top 4 if we don't win the next 3 games. So, to talk about the lineup, it's kind of tricky now because we have to rotate. Now, of course, in goal, De Gea, who, again, barring getting scored on twice, was pretty good last game. But I think De Gea has to be in goal, and now you have to look at the really kind of tough situation of you have no left back. It looked like Shaw kind of rolled his ankle, but, Luke Shaw went through so many injuries. And he's been in and out of teams so far, so how are we going to know that he's going to be the same player? Like, how are we going to rely on him being fit, really? And I don't know how we can. So now we look at Brandon Williams. Well, Brandon Williams, I don't know, can play. I mean, he might have gotten a concussion from the collision that he had. He might have gotten a concussion, and I think that's genuinely something that is going to test Ollie's leadership and Ollie's managing skills. Because now, who are you going to look at? And I think you have to look at Diogo Dalot as a chance, as an opportunity. He's not the best fullback in the world, but we're not playing the best team in the world. And the fact that we need a kind of defensive fullback is going to screw us kind of a little bit because Diogo Dalot used to be a right midfielder. So now you're going to try and play him on the left, and I don't know if it'll work. But I think unless Brandon Williams is fine, unless Luke Shaw is fine, I don't see any other option. So now you go to the centre-back pairings. Again, this is going to be weird. Do you play Maguire? Do you play Lindelof? I think you have to play one of the two. And I think you have to either put Bailly or, and this is going to surprise some people, Teden Mengi, who a lot of people thought would start last game. Teden Mengi has been training with the team ever since the restart. He's been impressing, according to reports, he's been impressing the coaching staff. This might be Teden Mengi's time to at least make the bench because there's a slew of injuries. So Mengi might start, and that's kind of exciting. And the excitement continues into right back, which I don't know if you play with Wan-Bissaka. Because Wan-Bissaka has kind of dipped in form a little bit since the restart. Not since the restart, but like Southampton, he didn't play incredibly well. He conceded the corner, but Southampton, he didn't play incredibly well. You also had the Bournemouth game. He didn't play incredibly well. Do you play Ethan Laird? Someone else who, yeah, he's kind of injury prone, but someone who is, been training with the first team and is raring to go and wants to play. He's a young kid. I mean, he's older than me, but he's a young player. Let him have his chance against Crystal Palace. I think personally, I know we need to win this game, and I said that how incredibly important it is to win this game, but he could really help Ethan Laird. I think this would be an incredible chance to give him. Then we move on to even something a little bit more difficult, the midfield. The midfield is going to be incredibly difficult to kind of pinpoint who's going to play. Do you play both Pogba and Bruno and kind of hope that they don't get injured? I don't think so. I think you rest Pogba. Bruno hasn't really been injured in his career, hasn't really been injured severely in his career. Pogba was out most of the season this season. You want to rest him because he's the kind of difference maker. I know how a lot of people say, oh, Bruno is, but Pogba really, that bolsters the midfield. And I think the Bruno-Pogba partnership is the reason why we're not drawing a lot of these games. Because I think if Bruno just plays by himself, as we've seen in the Tottenham game, he can only do so much. When you have Pogba there as the extra pivot, it's incredible. And I think you have to kind of rest Pogba. If things aren't going well, put him on after 60 minutes. But I don't know. I think that you have to start Bruno in this situation. So if that's the case, then you have Matic, who's not going to play. He looked tired. Again, Mourinho ran him into the ground during that year when he was really good, and then right after he just played him every game, and he's 30-something years old. He's not going to survive that. He's not going to play extremely well every game if you're going to give him every game. He looked terrible, and then he came back and he looked immense. He looked really good, and now he's kind of looking to drop off a little bit. And I think this is Solskjaer's way of saying, okay, stop. We need you for the Chelsea game. We need you for the Leicester game. You can rest. You can take a breather, and put in Scott McTominay and Fred as the midfield. Fred can get forward. He's a little more creative. Same with Scott McTominay, but Scott, he's 6'4". The guy can play defense. He's really good, and I think Fred can play defense, but not. He's very energetic, and I think he's definitely really good in intercepting passes. So I think that three midfield is going to do really well. Again, he's going to play a 4-2-3-1 like he's played in every game since the restart, or a 4-3-3 if you want to look at it that way, but it's not. Now comes the attackers. Do you start Martial? Probably. Yeah. Do you start Rashford? Yeah. Probably. I mean, both of them had incredible games yesterday. Or not yesterday, but versus Southampton. Both of them have been in great form. I mean, Marcus Rashford not so much, but Martial has been incredible since the restart. So I think you have to start him. You have to start Marcus Rashford. Do you start Greenwood? And I think that's a genuine question, because I know Dan James isn't the best right midfielder, and I think a lot of people have kind of taken a shot at him for not being the best midfielder, or best right mid. But even then, we need to rest Mason Greenwood. As Stephen Housen has said before, this is the most calculated, kind of inclusion from a player into the first team I've ever seen. And same with me. I mean, I wasn't alive when Ryan Giggs was in and out of the first team. So, I think it's something that I think Solskjaer has to consider. Bring him on after 45, but don't, start him every game, because they're going to run him into the ground. We've seen that he is susceptible from being shut down. I mean, against Southampton, he didn't play extremely well because he was getting shut down. They put two defenders in front of him, and he can't cut in both ways. He's going to try and pass out, and it just didn't work. So I think they have to at least consider Dan James from starting. So I think if you're going to look at this team, I think you got to go with De Gea, and then at left back you have Delot, Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof, and then on the right centre back, or on the other centre back, you have either Eric Bailly or Teden Mengi. Then on the right back, you might play AWB there, but you want him for that Chelsea game, so I think you'd probably play Ethan Laird. He's been training with the first team, as I said before. In the midfield, you have Bruno Fernandes, because he's been in fine form ever since he's I should just say, ever since he's been born, this man has been in fine form. I mean, he was the only player for Sporting for the past couple of years. He came here and is absolutely killing it. So you got to put Bruno Fernandes in the squad, and then you have Fred and Scott McTominay as the two defensive midfielders. You push up. You also have Marcus Rashford on the left. Again, got his goal from open play. Against Southampton. I think he's starting to really pick up form. You have Martial, who's been in incredible form since the restart. Has been incredible form this whole season, really, but incredible form since the restart. And then on the right, you probably play Mason Greenwood, but there's definitely a consideration for Dan James. And the score prediction, I think United are coming out. I think it's away at Selhurst Park. Yeah, it's away at Selhurst Park. So I think United win by 3 or more goals. I don't think we play conservative. I think we play all out. We win 3-4-1, 3-4-0. I genuinely, and I don't know, I hope I'm not jinxing this scoreline, but I genuinely do believe that. I really, truly do. I think United come out I think the range is 2 to 5, the amount of goals United might score against Crystal Palace. Really. I really well and truly do. So I'm excited for this game. I'm very nervous. I'm excited for this game. I think United are going to come out, and I think they're just going to boss the game. They're going to play extremely well. I know we're playing with a rotated team, so it's kind of be on a lower spectrum of that range, kind of 2 to 3, or maybe even concede a goal, but 2 to 3 I think is kind of probably the more realistic kind of thing. But I don't think United come out with the same squad, and even then, I think United still win by a comfortable margin. And that's that. I think those are my comments about the Southampton game, and those are my predictions for not only the lineup but the score for the Crystal Palace game. If you like what you heard, we're on Spotify, Off the Bar Podcast. Definitely show some love and support. Comment down below what you think the scoreline would be for the Crystal Palace game, and if you liked what you heard, like and subscribe. Thank you.